So, what's your names and where are you guys from?
I'm Jeanette McKinney, and I'm from Blanchard, Oklahoma.
I'm Edwin Winters, but everybody knows me as Older Than Dirt, and I'm from Hayward, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been doing this?
Well, I've been doing it about 30 years. My friend got me started in it, and so I walked in a couple of rendezvous before I actually started camping.
Mm-hmm.
And once I started, they couldn't get rid of me. I was hooked. So I really enjoy it. I enjoy the history of it. I didn't know the history when I first started.
We learned a lot.
And we've learned a lot in our time.
I started in '89. Made a Southwestern, and I was hooked. Hell, I was hooked before that. I ain't missed a year. I ain't out here in the last, 10? After, I don't know. Anyway, I wouldn't miss it for the world. That's what I do 2 times a year. I come over here.
Mm-hmm. So you guys do any other events or just Woolaroc?
When I got time, I do the others, but I seldom have time. I have to take off work. That's my vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is our vacation. Every once in a while, we'll go to Dripping Springs. Last year, my friend and I, Mary, we went to Dripping Springs. But usually it's just here at Woolaroc. This is home. This is home. This is our downtime. And out here, it's like you have a second family. I mean, you have a family at home, but you have a family here. We're that close, even though we see.
Believe it or not, we're closer out here than the families. Most people are.
Yeah. Yeah. You never want for anything. You never go hungry. Somebody's always got something to eat. And,
somebody's always trying to help you.
Yeah.
They think I'm an influence, I think.
And if you didn't bring something to cook, let me tell you, everybody's got it if you didn't bring it.
So in those years, you guys have any favorite memories or silly stories?
Well,
I've got some bad memories.
my first camp name is Makeswater. And these two guys, we was at another rendezvous, and these two guys didn't have anything to do except watch how many times I went to the Hooter.
Well, I know one year Jeanette came in her car carrying her pole.
So that's how I got my first name.
Well, I've buried a couple guys out here.
Mm-hmm.
More than a couple, actually.
Yeah, we've lost quite a few, and
We've spread their ashes all over the place.
out of black powder guns
Mm-hmm.
and cannons.
And cannons.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to be here too one day.
It's like home.
It is. It's like home.
Yep, it is.
Even though we see each other 2 times a year, once in the spring and once in the fall, it's like we see each other every week when we get out here. But,
We talk quite a while, quite a bit on the phone. If anybody needs it, they better call me.
so we stay in contact with one another.
All right. What's your name? Where are you from?
My name's Tyler Swadbilliam. I'm from Oshaleta, Oklahoma.
AKA Tornado.
Yep, AKA my camp name is Tornado.
How long you been coming out to Woolaroc or events like this?
I've been coming out here since my first trip out here was 1993. I was 3 years old, and my dad, well at that time my grandpa was the head carpenter out here at the museum, and before him was my great granddad, and now my dad's taken his position. And but my mom brought me out here when I was 3 years old, introduced me to Wes, and I fell in love with it, and I've been doing it ever since. Been coming out here twice a year.
You go to any other events?
I do. I also do Civil War reenacting, and I do a lot of. I try to do a lot of like 18th century stuff. Of course, I haven't really had a chance to do much of that, but out here, that's what I'm trying to represent is a 18th century gunsmith, and I do Civil War events all over the United States, and mountain man reenacting I just kind of do here and up in Kansas a little bit.
So what are you working on?
This is actually this would have been a mountain man era rifle. It's a 54 caliber. It's a St. Louis style Hawken, and it's got a 36-inch octagon 54 caliber rifle barrel on it. And this is a percussion. It's not a flintlock, so it's something that I'm not as familiar with because I mainly work on flintlocks. And but right now I'm inletting the pieces. They're just guards for the bolt locks, for the lock bolts. That's what I'm doing right now. Now I've lost my piece. There it is.
When did you start gunsmithing?
I started this about a year and 2 months ago. It's when I got back from overseas, and I just started. I ordered a kit for my first one and built it, and
2 months ago. It was long.
year and 2 months ago. And ordered a kit and built it. Absolutely fell in love with it and been doing it ever since. So.
Anything you want to add about the events here, or anything else that you love doing, participating in?
I do love elk hunting up in Colorado. I haven't got a chance to go the last couple of years because I've been stationed in North Carolina, but I used to go every year. I absolutely love it up there. Go chase elk around for a couple of weeks, and well, that's telling a story back there. But I do have a lot of stories to tell about that. Other than that, my plan is to get out of the Marine Corps and build a home in Oshaleta, Oklahoma, and a 18th century shop. It's going to be an 18th century home, 18th century shop, so it'll be like you're stepping into a colonial time, and build firearms for a living.
Awesome. So, your name, where you're from?
My name's Steve Johnson. They call me Moonshine. Had to do with a little brown jug. I'm from southwest Missouri in the Springfield-Branson area. A little town called Chadwick out in the middle of Mark Twain National Forest. And I'm the chief salesman for Ridge Runner Canvas. Been building tents for right at 30 years. Ridge Runner actually belongs to my daughters now, but we build a good quality canvas product. Have for a long time.
Mm-hmm. So why'd you guys get into rendezvous in this kind of
I got
activity,
involved
this
in
business?
I've got involved in black powder shooting in 1988, and it was a extension of the black powder shooting. I've always been a history buff. Enjoyed the history, all kinds of history. Didn't make a difference. So it just worked as an extension. And I had friends that knew what my wife at that particular time and my background was. We had access to industrial sewing machines. We had a lot of sewing knowledge and pattern making and what have you. And he said, "There's nobody in this part of the country that makes tents. Why don't you start making tents?" Well, we did. Here I am 30 years later. I wish he was here to see me.
Yeah.
He's dearly missed. One of the people that you hear stories about now. His name was Brass Turtle. And yeah, you hear stories about Brass Turtle. And people don't have to lie or embellish the stories because, yeah, he was as wild as they are. But
So-
that's what brought me into doing this, and the reason I'm in it 30 years later is because I continue to learn. You can't do this for any length of time and think that you know everything. It's impossible because the time spans. Especially with our tents, we do everything from Elizabethan Renaissance all the way up into Indian Wars, 1880s time span, plus even modern. We build tents for outfitters and what have you. But if you're looking at it from a historical standpoint, there's no way that you can get to a point where you know all of it. There's still wood prints and different things that are showing up even now that show tents and different styles of tents that we didn't think were period. Now, oh, wait a minute. They had that tent in 1340. Oh, wow. I guess that makes it period for. But if you're doing a military tent, you gotta, or a military time period, you gotta have your tentage. Even though they had the tent in 1340, they didn't have it in a military, say 1812 military setting, so you're not going to be able to use it. You're just all the time learning, and you try and build the best product that it's commercially available, if at all possible. It just, every manufacturer's out there is going to say they've got the best. But I think mine's are a little better.
What do you have any fun memories of any of the events you've been to? Or
Oh
anything?
yes, one of the finest memories I have doing this type of an event occurred back in about 93 or 94, I'm not exactly sure, and it was here on this property, not this particular site, but it was here on the property. We were at Bison Lake, is where they used to hold this event, and I was there for the fall event, and got out there a little early and set up early, and woke up one morning, and it was a beautiful, clear blue sky morning. It's about 7 o'clock. It was so still that the campfire smoke was going straight up in the air. They had some bull buffalo that used to range out there and had their wallers, and they're laid out amongst the camp. And there's a little thin layer of fog across Bison Lake. I'm standing there looking at that and thinking, boy, this really doesn't get much better than this. All of a sudden I start to notice that all the trees around there were starting to move. Well, the smoke's still going straight up in the air, but the trees were moving. And as the sun warmed the trees moved more. And it was monarch butterfly migration. and they started to take off from those trees. And guess what? It just got better. You know, that's why you do things like this, because you get those once in a lifetime moments that, you know, you just can't catch anywhere else in the world. You know, you can't take a picture of it because the picture wouldn't do justice. It's just, you know,
be there.
you got to be there. You got to see it. It's one of those things, you know. It's like going to an event at, say, 11,000 feet out in the mountains of Colorado, and it's a clear, starry night, and you're sitting there saying, I can almost reach out and grab a whole handful of them stars. You see more stars than you could ever see down here on, you know, at a lower elevation. It's just gorgeous, you know. And you're looking at the Milky Way, and all the constellations, and you can see all of the constellations. It's, you know, not just bits and pieces of it. It's those types of moments, and while you're looking at the stars, there's somebody in camp playing an acoustic guitar and singing some music, or somebody belting out a good song across the valley in a cappella, you know, with no music to complement. And, you know, the things like that you just don't find anywhere else. It makes doing this, you know, even if the moments are 10 or 12 or 15, 20 years apart, it still makes those, it's still the reason to do it. You know, because you're not going to catch them anywhere else. You're not going to catch it any other way than to be involved in doing something like this.
Awesome. All right, I'll wrap that up.
Darn it. Think to see if we have to. Because the biggest problem with this. Well,
It's Charlie.
It is. The one and only.
The one and only.
The one and only.